Welcome to Midnight Menu Plus One. I'm Ray Canada.
And I'm Margot Moss. Midnight Menu Plus One is a food lifestyle show on the podcast network, itsneworleans.com. Tonight we're at the Nola Brewing Tap Room in the Irish Channel.
The tap room is Nola Brewing's on-site watering hole. They serve Nola's regular lineup of craft beers as well as 8 specialty brews that you can't get anywhere else.
And the tap room is open 7 days a week, weekdays from 2 to 11 p.m. and weekends from 11 in the morning till 11:30 p.m.
Hey friends, I'm so glad you can join us because each week on Midnight Menu Plus One, Margot and I invite a member of New Orleans restaurant and food community to have a beer with us, and we invite them to bring along their own guest, a plus one. We never know who the plus one's going to be. Sometimes a friend, a neighbor, a family member, fellow restaurant colleague.
So our special guest on Midnight Menu Plus One tonight is Becky Wasden, and she is the co-owner of Girls One Shuck.
All right. Well, we're really looking forward to meeting Becky, but before we do, let's briefly catch up on this week's culinary adventures. Margot, let me tell you about a thought I had about salads this week. People complain in this town. They think we need more salad places, and it's true. Of like 800 restaurants in the city, I think there's only a few that are listed as salad places. You got the Superfood Bar, on Magazine, past Napoleon. There's a couple other places like that. But, and they taste great, and that's awesome. But in the past week, just in the last 2 weeks, I noticed that there's been like 5 great salads I've had eating out, but never at places that are known for salads,
Right.
Yeah. So, I jotted a few of these down. I thought about this. First of all, tartine. Right, the food is so good there. We talk about a lot on the show. Love Cara Benson when she does their toast and a tartine. And I like everything on the menu there. And so the last thing in the world I'm going to get when I like the hearty food is to get the salad. But I finally broke down and got the shrimp salad recently, and it was incredible. I mean, it's first of all, it's massive. 2 or 3 people could share it, but it's got everything: avocado and pickled stuff and grilled broccoli and roasted cauliflower and giant shrimp in it. They're really well seasoned. Just fantastic. I really loved it a lot. Then Reginelli's is close to home, so I hardly ever go there because it's so close, But when I went recently, I got the roasted cauliflower salad. It's one of those ones that's like misnamed because only like 5% of the salad is the roasted cauliflower. But but that was great, and all the rest of it was great too. And Midway, pizza place, nobody ever gets salads in a pizza place. I've been going there lately and did it again this week. My wife just got a salad, and it's just so freaking great. I just love it. The house dressing is ridiculous. And then Kyoto, the ginger dressing on their salad, real simple, but just so fresh and good. Nobody goes to
and their
sushi
poke salad's good.
Yeah,
too.
that's amazing. Yeah. And then the quinoa salad I had this week at Satsuma, And I was on a salad kick, I guess because I was trying to lose like the 45 pounds I gained during Mardi Gras or whatever. And the quinoa salad is so hearty at this little coffee shop. I'm talking about the Satsuma in Uptown. I'm not really familiar if they have the same menu on the one in Bywater. I've been there in a few months, but just ridiculous. So anyway, people looking for salads and bitching about how we don't have enough salads in this town. I found a lot at just sort of non-salad places. Thought I'd make pitch for all that.
Thank you. That's great.
All right. Well, we don't need to hear about me anymore. We have way more interesting guests than that here. So, welcome. So glad you're here, Becky.
I am Becky.
All right, Becky. Thank you.
And this evening, Becky, we normally have a plus one, and but we think tonight, since y'all are such exciting ladies, we would have you both on at the same time. So, Becky, would you introduce your co-owner?
I will proudly introduce my partner in crime, partner in business, partner in life, Miss Stefani Sell. Stefani like Gwen.
Stefani Sell? Correct.
S-E-L-L.
Nice to meet y'all.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for coming.
I'm excited to be here.
Okay.
I do come bearing gifts.
All right.
Because as a former art teacher who has endless supply of oyster shells, I made the two of you a Ray and Margot oyster shell knick-knack.
Oh.
It's officially a knick-knack.
Beautiful.
I don't know what you're ever going to do with it.
Yeah. How are we going to
No,
decide
I epoxied it together.
Who gets some ownership of it?
It's 2 girls,
We can
2
share.
shells.
I
for
guess
the
we'll
two
have
of
to
you.
do. You get it odd
Thank you
number.
so
You get it
much.
odd months, and I'll get it even months.
There you go. I guess it's a spoon rest, or put coins in it. I'm not sure.
Earrings.
The glitter glue names are
his
still wet, of
nipple
course.
piercings.
Yes, anything. So a gift
Always
from
need
2
more of
girls to
those,
the
yeah.
2 of
Beautiful.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I
And did
put
they
oyster
come like-
shells on. I live on Magazine Street. I
Yes.
put oyster shells as instead of gravel along my the separation between my road.
We
and
have
my
an
sidewalk.
endless supply, Ray.
Oh,
an
really?
endless supply.
Oh,
we
that would be good to
recycle
know.
shells. It's part of our business. So
And you recycle them and turn them into art projects, or just anything?
anything anyone needs.
So I could just come by and get a couple bags of shells.
I'll bring
from
you.
you?
I deliver the shells.
I was going to say because
Yeah.
first of all, I don't drive, and second of all, if I did
Right.
borrow somebody's car, it's going to smell for a while. If I bring back a couple bags of oyster shells, probably,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Well, we bleach them out.
Oh, you bleach
Well,
them out?
that's what I was
Yeah.
going to
That's
ask
good.
you. Do you bleach them with
do.
bleach, or like
yeah,
in the sun, or
Both. I do a sun bake and I do a water and bleach bath.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is
Usually
something
bleach bath
I
and then-
really
and then the
honestly
sun bake.
wanted to know.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to.
You really want to kill all the debris and everything.
Okay.
I mean, even just for gravel purposes.
Yeah, well, just over time. And also the smell keeps my neighbors away.
Truly. Truly. But
You
the more they
use them
bleach
in
out.
your flower bed?
No, what I use them for is I use them like there's an area between the road, between Magazine Street and my sidewalk that comes right in front of my house. And then what used to be grass there, I dug it all up. And I've done some weird things with it. I've put some doubloons and cement and stuff like that. But then also in this other sort of void area, I used to have gravel, and instead I just added a whole bunch of oyster shells. I just feel like they look better than gravel. And I
They
don't
look
know.
great.
Yeah.
They work perfectly.
They're
As
kind of
any
local and interesting.
landscape layout. We had a friend last year do a gorgeous fire pit in her backyard.
Oh.
And for our entire shucking season last year, she took every shell, and it still wasn't enough. She probably had 400 pounds of shells
Wow.
in her backyard, but they're gorgeous. They're beautiful. Just centered fire pit, safety first.
Sounds very
Yeah.
dramatic.
Yeah. She came up with that. She said, "Can I get shells?" And she took them over. We didn't even have to clean those ones. She did all that. So
I steal mine from the trash at Casamentos.
that's
What
smart.
I do, yeah.
And actually, she tried to ferret shells from a bunch of local restaurants, and every single restaurant said absolutely not. We don't have the time, the energy, the money, or the personnel to save you shells. Even if you came around every single day, we're not going to store shells for you. And so she was really disheartened. She's like, "Can you get me some shells?" I said, "Absolutely, we have."
The other thing I've done is I've gotten oysters at restaurants, like raw oysters, and then when they go to clean my plate, I say, "Can I keep my shells?"
Yeah, yep, absolutely.
Bring
I
your
come
own
to bring
trash
out a bag.
Yeah.
And then my wife.
Oh, you asked for a bag too?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
and I
yeah.
asked for a
Oh,
doggy
yeah.
bag, and I just put the shells in the doggy bag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Taking them home 12 at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it adds up over time. I bricked my whole side that way just by
Yeah.
found bricks. By the way, St. Joe. I'm real particular. I got to be St. Joe's bricks.
Very
And I
nice.
probably put 300 St. Joe's bricks on the side of my house
Excellent.
just from finding them walking
Right,
around.
right.
Finding them.
Finding
yeah.
them.
These damn cameras.
The 5-finger discount fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I want to ask y'all, how did you come up with this concept of oyster shucking for people? And
I'm going to fill this one to Stefani.
So I had been here about a week. I've been here 2 years now, currently. But I'd been here a week, and we were invited to a backyard shindig. And there were some oysters, but everybody was really drunk. And the guys who brought them were being really lackadaisical about it. I've got a lot of knife skills from growing up in the wilderness in Oregon. So I just kind of like started opening them by this little candlelight. There was like a single candle in the backyard.
It's kind of dangerous.
It was jet black.
Absolutely,
It was pitch
absolutely,
black.
very dangerous. There was, but I still had the glove on, of course.
Okay.
Still had the glove on. So I just started opening them and took them to like a sack to parties on occasion. Taught Becky how to shuck, and people started asking where your tip jar was.
Huh.
so you just fell into it. People asked.
This is like how Satchel Paige became a pitcher. Just like
It's
somebody gave him a rock and
really
he could throw it better than everybody. You just
most-
found out you had a great skill for like opening up oysters
Yeah.
by happenstance.
It's
I had never
absolutely the most
opened an
accidental,
oyster.
like best mistake, accident. So we just kind of fell into it.
Now, what were y'all doing before that?
So we still hold day jobs. This is our fun side business. I've been an educator for many years. I took last year off to finish my master's. So I just got my master's in education technology,
Congratulations.
which is fun. And
Okay.
but parlaying that, the oysters just kind of fell on top of that, and now I'm weighing the balance of which direction is going to take over full time. And it was the best accident. She came in March 2 years ago, and crawfish season just blew up. So every crawfish boil we were invited to, do you want us to bring a sack of oysters? And our friends, of course, always said, "What? Of course. You're going to bring a sack of oysters? Who's going to open the oysters?" So that really just kind of took its own momentum and ran with it. When I first moved here in 2002, I worked at DBA on Frenchman Street.
Yeah.
And it was my boss, Tom Thayer, that following November, who we were doing a house party just for friends. And he said, "Where's your tip jar? Do you have any idea how sexy this is? 2 girls shucking oysters?" And I looked at him, and of course we can banter because he's like my, brother. And I turned to her and said, "Oh, yeah, right. 2 girls, 1 sack." is the first term, and everyone
But then
laughed, and
we'd
we're all
have to
just
have a guy then, you know.
yeah, and that's what I said. I'm like, no, but we don't. And I said, wait a minute, 2 girls, 1 shuck, and that's the evolution.
Okay. Now I just have to get into it. I'm stammering because
We just need to get it over with.
yes,
Just
Ray
rip
has
the
no
ba-
idea what you're.
I got no idea what you're talking
when
about.
you say-
I'm so glad.
I'm too,
and I had no idea.
Rip the
and
Band-Aid off.
I'm like, I'm not a prude.
I just don't watch
But-
any movies,
but-
whether it's
but
porn or
I-
anything else. I don't watch any.
I think
I'm
I
in the
think I
same
was
boat.
traumatized.
Tell me you didn't watch it.
Yes,
Did you know, Margot?
I thought I was
Did you?
curious, and it was the most disturbing.
Okay,
thing I've
you can't
ever
see this
seen in
right
my
now,
life.
listeners. Both of them are turning red, and they're putting their hand over their mouth.
But
So
how
this is
would
gonna
you?
be-
I
What's
just
wrong?
need to
What-
know
what is
what's
this- what
going
is this
through
thing?
your mind to that would be the second thing that came into your mind.
Our business model, our business name, is a takeoff from a very crude fetish porn video. I
Okay.
believe it's Swedish, but I'm not 100% sure. I have never even seen the video completely. I have never been able to watch it from start to finish. The video is called 2 Girls, 1 Cup.
Okay.
So please, when you Google search our business, beware
Girls, 1 Cup.
that the first thing that's going to pop up. Margo, I can't believe you saw
I
any
know.
of it.
I really.
I don't understand how it can be this disturbing. What happens?
There's
Can you
there's
elaborate?
poop involved. There's poop involved. Don't worry.
Oh!
Yeah.
poop and vomit.
And vomit.
Oh!
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
But it
People
really
want to see
it-
this?
that's-
They
there's
enjoy
no-
this?
It was viral.
can't be real.
It was
It
viral.
can't be
I don't
real.
think it's real either.
But I don't know how they. It's very low tech. There's no way it's not real.
yeah.
And it is the most disturbing.
Well, there
I
was
mean,
a
I don't
John
wanna go
Waters
on and
movie
on about
involving poop, I remember, yeah.
this.
And that was
I
real.
used to sneak those when I was a kid, and this is nothing compared to this. That is funny.
When you say
stuff.
those, you mean regular regular
Waters
dirty?
movie-
Oh, okay.
No.
Oh,
this
yeah.
is. This
I
is.
thought you meant poop fetish movies. I'm like, Swedish poop fetish movie. I'm like, what are you talking about, Margo? You seem so normal.
Maybe there's many.
So this really works for our business because it's a very dirty job.
But we choose to do it. It's a
Okay,
very it really
that's
it
what's-
literally
I was
it really
gonna-
works in a lot of ways. My favorite thing about doing a event is seeing people see the name for the first time or hear the name for the first time. So this video got really popular. I want to say 2006, 2007.
I missed the whole thing.
Yeah. And so now there's been enough of a gap where my generation, I'm in my late 30s, versus the 20-something generations versus the 40, 50, 60-something. I can tell how old someone is by their reaction to the business name.
Oh, funny.
Now, do you want to talk about the elderly gentleman that
This was at a New Year's Eve party, and I'd had quite a bit of champagne. And in saying 2 girls, 1 shuck, my consonants nearly slipped a little bit, and he said, "Oh, watch those consonants."
because he was going to take it to the completely other direction. So, yeah, I just took a chance on it, on the name, and
Ah.
it's really
Well,
worked
it's memorable.
That's-
Especially,
and
especially
really,
if
and
you've
if
heard
you
of it.
don't know the disgusting underbelly,
Yeah.
it is easy to remember, and that was my goal.
Now, did you
2
worry
girls,
that
that
the
It's a
shuck
good
Oysters.
name if you
Did you
don't
wonder
know
that
the
the
movie.
disgusting underbelly would be a little bit of a turnoff to people that wanted to hire you?
I think
mean,
I think people are more intrigued and people love it. I have never once had a client say, "We can't hire you because of your name."
Ah.
Oyster shuckers usually drink. They aren't the most prudish people.
Right.
True.
Okay.
This is beyond. Okay, we do not need to harp on it,
Okay.
but it's a great name.
You told me enough that I don't need
You
to
don't
know
have
anymore.
to. You don't ever. You don't have to watch it.
No, I won't.
The name.
I
of your
promise you I
company
won't,
is
Margo.
Great.
No interest
But,
in that at all.
And how long did it take y'all to get, fast at it and kind of able to do it so that you're not like
One of
harming
our-
yourself
yeah,
or,
one
or
of
taking
our,
all night?
like, presentation points is that because there's 2 of us, we don't have to speed shuck.
Okay.
Because a lot of people will hire just 1 shucker and try to put out 4 or 5 sacks of oysters in a short amount of time. So I feel really confident with the knife now. Stefani, of course, took to it like a fish out of water, coming from Oregon. She did show me. I wasn't quite sure, but I've always built things with my hands. Art teacher, musician, carpentry, welding. So I've always used my hands for things. We have a few trade secrets that help me be a better shucker. Our table is elevated an extra foot off the ground.
Huh.
So we're both fairly tall. I'm we're almost close to 6 feet tall. So having that extra foot, I'm not bending my back at all. I have no leverage on the elbow. It's very ergonomic, dare I say. And I'm just we barely use the click of the wrist. A lot of long-term shuckers will use a lead. It's that wavy S curve that holds the oyster. Instead, I built these wooden planks that are thicker than this table that we're sitting on. They're about 4-inch thick planks that have a resting bar, so I can actually push the oyster against the resting bar, and again, it's just a quick click. So
nice,
just
customized.
Exactly. I thought, how am I going to be a better shucker? How can I make this easier for me physically, which then allows us to engage more with our guests. And our table's only a 6-foot table, so we're closer even to our guests than the 4 of us are sitting now. So speed, it comes with time and practice, of course. What do you think?
Any injuries? Have you ever?
No,
We
never.
only
Never?
I've cut my finger once from a shell, not from the knife, and you probably have nothing. We did.
So how many oysters can you do a minute? Like, if you're really pressed, there's a line. Everybody's kind of demanding them.
You don't rush at that point in time. Not
well,
at all. No.
You make
Take
them
your
wait.
time.
You know.
Shuck your oyster.
Yeah.
The thing is, hosts usually want the oysters to last for most of the
Right.
party. And oyster eaters can be very polite. They will step away from the table and do a rotation of the room and come back
Right.
and get an oyster.
All right, but there's got to be times
Good.
where you're feeling a
Oh
little
no,
pressed.
we did a Super Bowl party this year, and our host purchased the oysters. We normally provide the oysters, but he got 600 pounds of oysters from his cousin.
Wow, how many oysters is that?
That was 12 sacks. That was
12
1,200.
sacks.
That was about 1,200 oysters.
So about a half a pound per oyster.
So we shucked from noon until 7,
Holy
6
cow.
or 7, and it wasn't. So that I would say I can probably
like
do
150 of an hour.
I would say I could probably do 4 a minute
two-
in that because
I was going to say 2.5 a minute. Okay, 4 minutes.
4.
Oh yeah, because you had
she's
that breaks
a
in
little
there
bit
too.
faster. She's
Yeah,
a
because
little
you're
bit-
not doing it steady the 7 hours.
Right.
Yeah, you're taking
no,
breaks
no.
in there.
People you stop and talk, and
Right.
the key to that was he had a char grill station, which we don't provide. He had guys on hand to char grill half of all those oysters. So we were being speedy for the char grill, definitely, because
So
those goes like.
So
those
do
go
y'all
like
love
wildfire.
oysters? Do you both eat oysters?
We do.
and
Do you like
appreciate
it better or worse since you've been doing this? Like
More.
More. Okay.
I have a craving now. I have this. I wake up and I want the salt and the texture. It's very odd. I didn't expect that to happen.
So while you're shucking, are you eating some too?
We always taste the first out of the sack. That's
Have you
quality
not,
control.
You're not doing them during the whole time?
You know, I probably eat 3 or 4 over an event. It depends on if it's friends of ours and we know it's real casual. And we're just talking. You can have an oyster or 2.
Because I confess to Margot, my worst overeating thing lately was I was at a party. I ate till I was full. I decided I wasn't going to eat anymore. I went outside and then I saw the oysters. I didn't know. And I had like 6 dozen oysters after that.
Are you
Yes.
serious?
Yeah. It was horrible. It was really horrible. And I was sick for about 2 days, but it was so wonderful. It was so worth it.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I have a superpower.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but that oysters will motivate me that way. No other food has ever motivated me quite that far over the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We definitely like oysters, so we'll get a sack at home, a personal, and just sit around with friends, drink and eat. And that's when we really eat oysters.
Yeah.
Not so much on the job.
Okay.
Well, it's like when you cook. I don't know. I always feel full by the time I'm done cooking, and I've only tasted it to see what
Yeah.
it's like. And
I think it's similar when I'm shucking, definitely.
and you're entertaining. I mean, you're part of the experience.
It's very shuck and
so-
jive. We're just talking to people. I'm often surprised at nearly every event we've done. We always have an adult from New Orleans who's never had a raw oyster.
Weird.
What?
I am not
No,
kidding
you know what, though? That doesn't surprise
I am not
me.
kidding you. And so
That
it
doesn't surprise
then
me,
it turns
actually.
into I love the adult peer pressure. It's so funny
Yeah.
to have some adult drag another adult over and say, okay, we're going to talk you through it. So we serve oyster shooters. I have a non-alcoholic Bloody Mary mix that I make.
Huh.
And they can either do a small oyster in the Bloody Mary and sip it and then taste it, or of course we do cracker and cocktail sauce, horseradish lemon, hot sauce, any way you want to dress it. And I love watching people take their first oyster.
Wow.
It's really
Nice.
fun.
Well,
So
I mean,
y'all are
there's like
particular.
locals that don't go to Mardi Gras parades.
Yeah.
There's a minority of locals that hate the culture, sort
Yeah.
of. You know what I mean? Because it's just the air they
I-
breathe. And I think oysters have to be part of that. There's
And
a small number of locals
I don't even
that
know
are
that
that
it's
way.
a hate for oysters. I think most of them have only had them fried or char grilled or baked, and have always been told don't eat raw oysters because truthfully, it's a gamble. They're clean and they're there's no bacteria on them or anything, but just one of those. I think it's a mental thing you kind of have to hurdle yourself over.
Yeah, because you've heard that all
and
your
as
life,
kids, I have done many school events teaching younger students how to shuck oysters. They're amazing, and they're brave.
You're teaching little kids how to shuck oysters?
I've done a few events. Y'all know Woody Ruiz from Woody's Fish Tacos?
Yeah, we
I
love
think?
him. He's been on our show.
So
Yeah,
he's
a great guy.
our official oyster pimp.
Ah.
When this started to, like I said, get its own momentum, I called him. He's the
He's a good one
first
to have,
person to feed me my first raw oyster when
What?
I moved here in 2002. There are oysters in Utah, but there are not Gulf
Okay,
Coast
so you're
oysters.
from Utah.
I grew up in Salt Lake City, Utah.
Mormon?
Raised Mormon.
Ah.
No longer practicing as I drink my delicious stout.
I want to know about a little folklore about are oysters really an aphrodisiac?
Do you want to feel this one, or do you want me to?
Oysters have a lot of zinc in them, so in the same way that an energy drink really gets your blood flowing and wakes you up, so does an oyster.
Ah.
Blood flow is very essential to awakening your sexual desire.
Huh.
Yeah. So oysters are the highest natural protein of zinc content.
Really?
It's oysters and then liver. So any like animal
Oh
liver.
gosh, liver's
Yeah.
not worth it. That almost
Yeah.
that almost cancels out the sex.
Have you ever had
Oh, here we
chicken
go.
liver from
Here's
the
what
I was
happens.
just gonna say,
Deli?
This is what people always
She
do to
loves
me.
liver.
Oh, liver. Blah, blah, blah.
So I say
Kosher Cajun Deli? Just had it this
That's
week.
what I'm saying.
All right,
That's
I'm
the
sure
only
somebody.
place
I'm
I-
sure only in New Orleans
Or a
can
grandma
somebody
makes it.
somebody can make liver great. But my whole life I've heard liver, and it's always
Uh-huh.
terrible. The only ones I ever could handle were the little itty bitty ones.
Yeah.
that you'd have it at like what are they, chicken livers? I
The little
guess,
chicken
at-
livers.
Yeah, at
Like
like
Giacomo's
a
does those,
Brazilian
yep.
barbecue.
Mhm.
And it's only because I mixed in with all the beef, and it wasn't
Yeah.
like the liver was good. It was just
Come
Right.
on, it's good on grits. It's
Yeah.
Oh, no.
but all right.
Oysters are awesome. That I'm gonna get all my zinc and have all my aphrodisiac
So
powers
that-
out of oysters.
I'm gonna say Casamentos. It's not. Who's the starts with a C?
Huh.
He eats 60 raw oysters every single morning. The Love Man. I'm so sorry.
Somebody y'all know?
No, Casanova.
Oh,
Casanova.
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 Oh,
That-
that's how it became famous as
He
aphrodisiac
honestly-
for me.
and
Because he
that's
was
because
also an autobiographer. Yeah.
He would eat 60 raw oysters every single morning. He had a bathtub designed for two people to eat oysters in a bathtub, where he is
That could be a Swedish fetish movie.
Infamously, he's like, but it can fit 3 or 4 if he wanted to brag. So he had a bathtub where he ate 60 oysters raw every single morning.
Okay.
With 2 or 3 lovers, however, his evening had followed itself through.
Well, speaking of love, how did y'all meet? If you're from Utah and you're from Oregon,
I
and-
moved to Salt Lake City kind of sight unseen. I had a job offer and I wanted to go ski bum. Quite frankly, I wanted to snowboard. So I moved to Salt Lake City sight unseen. How many years? 3, 4, some odd years ago. And Becky was in town as an educator. She had summers off and she was visiting her mother.
Yeah, so I was in town visiting family
And where did y'all meet?
friends.
A straight bar.
I picked her up at a straight bar on karaoke night. Classic. Actually, it's this great.
did you sing? You're a musician?
I am a musician and I'm a singer, and I apologize. My voice is a little raspy.
Sing for us.
We went
Do
to
it.
a dinner party last night, and my friend turned on one of my karaoke songs,
Which
and I was
one?
on the couch. What's up, Four Non Blondes, Linda Perry.
Please.
So I was singing
one
that.
verse. Come on.
All right. Or what was the
Really?
song you sang
Yes.
the night y'all met?
That's the
wait,
song.
wait,
That's
you're
the
letting
song
her
I
off
was.
the hook, Margo. Come on, we
No,
have it.
I'll sing. I don't mind singing. But my friends were drunk at this Irish pub in Salt Lake, which I love because they have a T-shirt that says Scottish, Irish, Mormonish. We love you all. Like we love it. We love them all. So no, my friends were drunk at the bar. I was home, not drunk, and Utah drunk. It's 10 p.m. So they're really drunk because the bar closes at 1. And they won't stop calling, please come sing one song. Please, because I'm only in town for 2 weeks. Please come
You were
sing
getting
one
requests
song.
to sing.
So
Oh, God, this has
I
gotta be
said,
good.
I will come to the bar if you let me drive you home. And that was a good compromise. So I show up to the bar. Unbeknownst to me, there was a Melissa Etheridge concert that night. And I walk into the straight Irish bar in downtown Salt Lake City, and it is packed full of lesbians. And I was like, what is going on here? Something's not right. Where am I? It felt very Twilight Zone. So I did sing the one song and took my drunk friends home and slipped this girl my phone number on a napkin, very 90s style, old school. No Tinder, no OkCupid. I just gave her my number and said, I'm only in town for a few weeks if you want to hang out.
Aww.
And she called me the next day. And fast forward 3 years later.
Wait, did she hear you sing that night? Is that?
I was very intoxicated. I don't remember.
If she did, she wouldn't remember.
All right, sing one bar or whatever.
And I say, hey, yeah, yeah, hey, hey, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, what's going on?
Woo!
Thanks.
Acapella.
It's only the second time we've ever had
I
someone
know. And the
sing.
last one was an Irish bar too. It was
Yeah,
from.
it was an Irish-
It was from. Yeah. It was. What's his name? The guy from Oak Street Cafe. My friend. I can't think of his-
Brad.
It was Brad's plus one, who's the Irish singer at the Irish House.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. Wow.
She's
Thank
so
you.
funny. She was giving me tips on how to use the microphone before we got here.
How do you know how to use the microphone?
How do you know how?
I
What is
dated a girl in radio once upon a time.
Yes. So she said you have to talk very close to the mic, and you have to think about what you're going to say before
I was
you
also
say
intoxicated that night.
it. That's true.
I see a pattern here. Yeah.
Well, and I just laughed. I said, as a singer, I'm going to do the best I can to not eat the microphone.
You
But,
backed up a little bit.
but I'm very strong vocaled, and I usually have to hold the mic far out.
So do you do any of that on the side too?
Sorry.
You know, I performed most of my 20s. I taught art and music at Holy Rosary Academy in high school for many years. So teaching music to kids is phenomenal, and being able to do vocals. I taught vocal, piano, and guitar. But here, when I moved here, I never busked. I never really went for gigs in bars. For some reason, I felt like I wanted to be the participant on the outside instead of on the stage. And it's really served me well, I think.
And why did y'all choose New Orleans?
I chose New Orleans because I came to visit in the dead heat of a July and fell in love.
Really?
I've absolutely fell in love with the city immediately. And it was the music, the food. It was absolutely music, food, and culture, hands down. So Stefani came to visit for a summer also. And it only took her about 2 days.
Well, we need to take a break for just a minute to thank our sponsors for tonight's show before we continue. Thank you tonight to Nola Brewing Tap Room, the watering hole of the Nola Brewing Company on Chapatula Street in Irish Channel, where you can get all of Nola Brewing's beers plus another 8 specialty beers you can't get anywhere else.
And let me tell you about our friends at Petite Pet Care. While you're at work or on vacation, you don't have to board your pet. He can stay in the comfort of his own home. For loving care when you're not there, Petite Pet Care. Find them at petitepetcare.com.
And very fitting from tonight's discussion, we want to also thank Hangover Destroyer, the only all-natural product medically proven to prevent a hangover. Go to the Hangover Destroyer website, hdestroyer.com, write Midnight Menu in the coupon code, and you get 30%. That's 30% off on your order of Hangover Destroyer. And seize the dawn.
Okay, well, it's time to go off the menu. This is a part of the show where Ray and I get to ask y'all a question you would not normally get asked, or maybe only after a lot more drinks, or if pot was legal or something like that.
Excellent. We're game.
So, Ray, do you have your...
Yeah, I just, one came to me by osmosis a little bit ago. You're on Gilligan's Island, and you get to shuck oysters for only one of the islanders. Private oyster shucking party. That's what I guessed you were going to say as soon as I thought that was too easy. Okay.
I mean, do you have a different answer? Oh, who's the... Who? What's the old couple's name?
Oh, the Howells.
Mr. Howells.
Or it would be both, but it would be the Howells, because that's pretty much our clientele base. I mean, the people that hire us are very, very kind and usually fairly wealthy, but you don't have to be. We're very affordable, or we'd like to be. But Ginger, come on. I think Ginger would like oysters.
All right, well, my question is not exactly that. Stefani, what is the worst job you've ever had?
That's a great question.
I've had some pretty bad jobs, but I'm really easy-go-lucky, so I worked like at night in like the worst neighborhood in Portland in a convenience store, and like there'd be crackheads everywhere, and like a bullet came through the window once, and everything's all. But it seems like it would have been a really bad job, but I still enjoyed it.
What was enjoyable about it?
Well, I got to play really loud, obscene like comedy at past 10 p.m. You could put on whatever you wanted. Because they said any kids who were in there gonna know already what's going on. So I would play really loud comedy. It was Friday, Saturday night, be really busy. There'd be one other person with you. I don't know, stocking the cooler. It was really fun. It was a really low-wage, great teenage job.
So what was your best job besides shucking oysters?
My best paid job that paid off college and whatnot would be Nature Bake, Dave's Killer Bread out in Portland. I used to work for them. I ended up as assistant supervisor of the wrap room, and I used to deliver for them. And delivering by yourself in a truck, listening to your radio, little NPR in the morning, doing your gig, going in and out of stores, that was really fun.
Mm-hmm. She also trained ex-cons at that job.
I did train a lot of ex-convicts at that job. I was 22, fresh out of college, and I would threaten to shank them or call their PO if they weren't following orders.
Wow. So what, you trained them to bake bread or to deliver? And
no, they didn't drive the bread. Absolutely not. No, in the bakery, they would, bake or mix or
Why
wrap.
wouldn't they deliver the bread? Because they would trust them with the cars?
License. There's definitely some issues about felons and a large truck.
Yeah.
There's definitely some issues.
What a great business, though. Was that part of their culture?
Oh, yeah.
They wanted to.
Killer Dave had his name because he was an ex-felon. And his family, Nature Bake, had started a bakery. His parents started the bakery. And when he got out after his 8th conviction for methamphetamine-related charges, he said, I will start, I want to do my own line of bread. I'm going to go really healthy with super high protein bread with lots of nuts and grains and whatnot in it. And also, Oregon has a tax rebate if you hire ex-cons. So I'm pretty sure they were able to really make it work for them. Mm-hmm. It's not necessarily the most stable workforce. You're going to have some turnover for sure, recidivism and whatnot. But also
some shanking occasionally.
Some shanking occasionally, normally by the supervisor upon employee activity. But I think it still paid off for them, and they gave people a chance who really wanted to stay out of prison could get a job.
Huh.
And
I think
stay
that's
out.
wonderful.
It's fantastic. It was a little bit out of the way, so people who couldn't drive really had trouble getting there because it was outside of Portland city limits, and it was, baking starts before the buses run. Mm-hmm. So there'd be like a lot of people in a pack riding bicycles to work. Very 2 a.m. when the bars are letting out in Oregon, 2:30. It's pretty funny. All these felons have to ride right by the bar. I can't have a drink. Gotta get out to the bakery.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right. Did y'all ever work in this? We're in Nola Tap Room. Did y'all ever work in breweries?
We both have worked in breweries at different levels.
Yeah.
I worked at a brewery in Salt Lake City called Red Rock as a server bartender for 5 years before I moved here. I was able to work through the 2002 Winter Olympic Games, which was one of the most incredible bartending experiences for 2 weeks. The revolving door of every country, every nationality, every language. It was absolutely phenomenal. And I saved up enough money to buy a brand new car and drive to New Orleans.
Wow.
So, yeah.
And what did you do, Stefani, in the brewery?
I was out in Wallowa, Oregon. This is right on the border with Idaho. It's about 5 hours from Portland. A lot of it's on barely paved roads. And the Hell's Canyon is right there. I just dated a girl who worked there. Mostly I hiked and climbed and spent a lot of time out in the wilderness and then came in after a week and drank some beer.
But we noted pulling up, just getting out of the car in front, you just open the door and you just smell that brewery smell.
Yeah.
And I just love it. I absolutely love, we're big beer fans.
Yeah,
So-
we had to walk through the tap room, through the
Uh-huh.
brewery to this room that we're meeting in today. It's
Yeah.
an unusual room for us, and we hit about 4 different smells on the way.
Yeah.
The one I liked the best was the malt smell. It
Yeah,
kinda like-
it's the malt.
yeah,
that gets
it's kind of
me.
cool, like
Mhm.
milk balls.
Exactly.
So let me ask y'all: isn't oyster seasonal? Oyster shucking seasonal? So how do y'all manage that?
We do abide by the months with an R in the name rule.
How many are there?
There are 9. And I am specific to this because of the warm waters of the Gulf. Now, I went up to New York over Christmas and went to the Grand Central Oyster Bar and had 12 different varietals, and they were phenomenal. And I kept some shells, Ray, just so you know. I was literally putting shells in my purse wrapped in a napkin so that the guy in front of me wouldn't think I was odd. So in cold water climates, I think it's absolutely 100% perfect to eat oysters year round. You can eat Louisiana Gulf oysters year round. That is your choice. That's my little umbrella statement to all the oyster industry out there. I mean, they're going to work year round even if we aren't. So for 2 Girls One Shuck, we do only prefer to work September through May. So May is the flexible month. It doesn't have an R in the name. But normally May, June, July, and August, the oysters are spawning. The water is very warm. The outside temperature is very hot. It's hard to keep oysters cool. And they do get a little bit milky because they just want to procreate and hibernate. So, yeah, we are a September through May business for the most part.
Now, is there one supplier that you get them from?
We
or-
do. We have one supplier, and thank you for reminding me. I'd love to give them a shout out. We get our oysters from American Seafood out in Gentilly. They're amazing. They harvest out of St. Bernard Parish. They give us our oysters 2 to 3 days out of harvest. They're phenomenal.
What makes them phenomenal?
The size is just right for raw oysters. Sometimes they get too big. If you harvest them after 5 or 6 years, they're 5 to 6 inches or bigger, which a lot of people won't choke down an oyster that big. So we always get great 2 to 3 inch oysters, which are usually 3 to 4 years old. They come to us very clean, which is helpful for us because you don't want to get debris and shell when you're opening an oyster. And their flavor from September this entire season has been wonderful. They've been firm, salty but not overwhelming, a little briny but not too briny. I'm very impressed with our distributors. They're phenomenal. And all the oyster guys out there that do all the work for us.
Have y'all ever gone out and seen the?
It's the next
Bed.
step. We have a connection to someone that might let us get out on a boat. We're really hoping that happens.
He's very specific. We cannot do anything, and we have to sign a waiver.
And we're fine with that. We don't have to touch anything. We just want to see the harvest. We want to see how they go out and bring it back in. So we haven't done it yet. I'm very excited.
Have you ever thought about doing any oyster shucking competitions? You know, I know they have those. We had the oyster shucker from Casamento's on, and
Right.
he's the champion the last few years.
Excellent.
So, yeah, I mean, have you ever thought about doing any of that? Has it been a temptation for you?
I know that I think there's several women around the nation that are high oyster competitors. It's not really that interesting to me. I would love to watch a shucking competition. Stefani, what do you think?
I'm not interested. I like shucking oysters to eat, not so much. I'm not really that competitive.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm pretty particular. I really like to take my time and make sure there's any shell debris. It's inevitable. There's sometimes some left in there. But speed isn't really the goal for us.
Definitely some of our customers have commented that this is like we have a well-shucked product. We get the dirt off. It's actually going to, it's not going to be dry. It's going to be perfectly de-shelled so that it looks good. It sits well. It's really, it takes a little bit slower of a shuck, but I think it makes the product better.
We also try to leave a little liqueur in the shell. So instead of draining all that delicious salty liquid off, which
Yeah.
I see shuckers do often, you want a little bit of juice in the bed. And then if you choose to pour it off, then that's up to you.
Oh, that's a good
But again,
point.
that's an extra 2 or 3 seconds of mindfulness.
Right.
You just have to pay attention.
Well, I'll tell you, talk about trust issues with like people worrying about, getting sick from a bad oyster or whatever. I never have that while I'm eating the oysters. My trust issue is just like I like to eat them fast. And,
Yeah.
and it's the debris more. It's more like the
Yeah.
shell stuff. 'Cause
Yep.
every once in a while I get like a razor sharp
Yep.
little piece of whatever.
Yeah.
And I guess if you swallow those, it's not going to kill you if there's a little
It's
bit
like
of
a
it.
fish bone. And,
Yeah.
I've had a little fish bone in my throat. It's going to pass eventually. It's not going
Yeah.
to be a big concern. But again, it's a little unpleasant.
Yeah.
I made an oyster stew once with some pre-shucked gallon oysters, and found a huge piece of shell, and I was really put off by that. I will tell you what. I was home, and I'm like, I didn't expect a shell in my mouth, but it's part of the product.
Yeah.
You just gotta love it. So.
And y'all are passionate, seem passionate, and it's a process, and it's not about just getting down as many as you can. It's the experience.
And
to me, it's the personality of the shuckers too. You're having an interaction. It's a personal thing.
And now, what I didn't anticipate in starting this business was meeting oyster lovers. Stefani mentioned earlier, people that eat oysters are so passionate about life. Oh. They're so friendly. They're so polite. They're always like making room for one another at the table and then having conversation with one another, which I absolutely love. So sure, we're engaged in conversation, but then people meeting them, people they know, and we do a lot of weddings, as you can imagine. And we have people from out of town that have never been to New Orleans, congregating with the locals. And I just love the camaraderie of the oyster eaters in New Orleans. It's been amazing. We've met some amazing people like y'all. I mean, just
oysters
opens
are
up
like
opportunities.
life-changing, to be honest. Because I grew up. I can't remember when I first started eating shellfish. Like I was eating clams in Long Island, like before I was tiny. Lobsters I used to get when I was 4, in restaurants. And the only shellfish I wouldn't eat was oysters. I never liked oysters. And then I got to New Orleans, and I resisted at first, but everybody was eating them. So then I had my oyster, and I loved it so much that now it spoiled me to like the rest of shellfish. So like the only one I still eat is really shrimp. I don't eat any other shellfish now. I don't like clams anymore. I don't like mussels anymore. I don't like lobster anymore. All I want to eat is oysters. If oysters are around, that's all I want to eat.
She's kind of the mother of the sea.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But she's got the flavor and the complexity. You have to do too much work to get what you want.
Yeah.
So
unbelievable. Love oysters.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're running out of time.
What? Are you serious? I didn't even see.
But I want to. How do people get in touch with y'all? And
very simple. 2girlsoneshuck.com. All spelled out. No numbers. And you can get us directly through email. 2girlsoneshuck@gmail.com. And
you're on Facebook too?
Yep, we're on Facebook. 2 Girls One Shuck. We got a business page there.
Twitter?
I started a Twitter a year ago, and I've never posted once. I'm a big Instagrammer. I'm big into photos. So you'll see. I took a picture of your shell, and I'm like, see you tonight, midnight menu plus one.
It's beautiful. Are these? They look like real pearls, but are they Mardi Gras?
They're
beads?
they're plastic pearls from.
They're
like,
pretty. Look, they're.
I'm
real,
crafty, just from the arts and crafts
crafty.
store. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you.
And you, it looks like they came this way.
Oftentimes, these two I did epoxy together, but we often get shells in clusters, and they're gorgeous. And when I open them, I try to keep them
together, like
centrifuge in their pieces. And if you, on some of our social media, I take pictures of shells that are conjoined, because there are some that are just gorgeous together. And I'm fascinated by that. They're like little snowflakes. They're all so unique.
That's part of the reef restoration, is that oysters will not grow on anything except other oyster
That's
shells.
What they want to grow.
Oh, that's why they dump the oyster shells for the. I didn't know that. That's really interesting.
I had a guy call me today. He was wonderful, out of Mississippi, and he said, "I hear you have oyster shells for sale." I said, "Absolutely, I do. I probably got 20 sacks in my backyard, 50 pounds each. How many do you want?" And he said, "Oh, I need 5 barges of oyster shells." But he said, I couldn't resist calling you because I saw your ad, and I'm so curious. So he's doing coastal oyster restoration in Mississippi.
Excellent. Awesome. Do you know the name of his
didn't ask him. I didn't. He said,
we want to plug every single person
I
and
know.
stuff like that. Yeah.
I know. No.
We need about 10 times as much of that as we have.
Who? I don't know their business name.
Oh.
You can put it out there even if you don't know
One
his
guy,
name.
5 barges.
Maybe somebody will write in.
I know. We did an amazing event for a family
if that's not his name, that should be his
owns
name.
a limestone company.
If you're listening,
and
sir,
they do oyster
we got a
shell
name for your
restoration. I feel terrible. Can I plug one more thing?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
We are donating our time and shucking abilities to an event called Toast Our Coast. This is through the Lake Pontchartrain Basin Foundation.
Oh.
It's March 6th at Lakeview Country Club.
All right.
Anyhow, raising money. It's part of SaveOurLakes.org, which is also part of Save Our Shore. It's just a great community event. So 2 Girls One Shuck will be there.
So you're donating your time to that.
We're donating our time, and we'll bring all of our equipment, and then they're going to get oysters donated for that.
Okay. And
P&J's Oysters.
They have not confirmed if P&J is donating the oysters.
Largest,
It
oldest.
is.
Yeah.
And Sal, if you're out there from P&J's, I know you're curious about Two Girls One Shuck. We can't wait to meet you. He's been asking about us around town, so that makes me very happy.
Well, I hate to end this, but we are totally out of time. Our special guest tonight on Midnight Menu Plus One was Becky Wasden, and her plus one was Stefani Sell. You can find out more about both of our guests and more about their business together by following the links on our website, itsneworleans.com. I'm afraid to say the name because I'm afraid I'm going to say the porn thing instead.
Just say it nice and slow, Ray. 2 girls, 1 shuck.
2 girls, 1 shuck. Okay.
And thanks tonight to Petite Pet Care, Hangover Destroyer, and the Nola Brewing Tap Room for the awesome beer this evening.
The Nola Brewing Tap Room is open 7 days a week. You can come here anytime, and you can join us back again next week here for another Midnight Menu Plus One. Hope you will.
We look forward to seeing you next week. Till then, I'm Margot Moss.
And I'm Ray Canada. Good night.
You know Labor Day signals the unofficial end of summer, but not the end of your outdoor projects. Lowe's helps you do it right and helps you save with Labor Day deals throughout the store. Shop now and get 2 bags of Stay Green Potty Mix for $12. And keep your lawn looking neat and trim with a Craftsman 2-cycle 17-inch gas string trimmer, now $20 off at just $119. Whatever's still on your to-do list this Labor Day, do it right for less. Start with Lowe's. Offers valid through 8/28. Soil offer excludes Alaska and Hawaii. U.S. only.